Here I am.
Yes, you are. I thought I was kind of like having some problems there for a moment, but thank you. And I'm so happy that you're here. We had a lot of fun interviewing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the stage first, and then we're going to go for Q&A. Just let me know when you're ready for some Q&A.
Okay, yeah. So what? Am I free to go?
Everyone's watching now. Yes, you're free to go.
I felt sure that I was technically incompetent. My technophobia has gone nowhere. I still have a fear of machines. Well, it's great to be here. And first, I'd like to thank Emerson and Noel for doing this. I just think it's awesome what you put together, and I can't imagine the technical headache. Anyway, well done. There's nothing really significant to say. Anything you say about this doesn't have great significance. Anything you say about life is not more important than anything else. That's what's usually referred to as the unconditional love. The fact that life is unconditional, that self brings all judgment and conditions to what is just life happening. Nothing is really any more significant than anything else, including all these words that you may be listening to over the weekend that might sound as though there are some human beings who have special knowledge and special insight, special understanding. It does seem that this message can ruin that dream of specialness that I certainly had, and that I know is the nature of self, that there's something flawed about me, and yet I so long to be special. Freedom from that is what we're talking about. Freedom from that need to be special. Freedom from the need to be fixed. There really is no one to be fixed. There's no one who's faulty. Even what we'd call the worst of humanity. You might want to keep yourself safe from that, but it doesn't need fixing. It's not inherently wrong. There really isn't right and wrong, other than what we say about life. And even saying what's right and wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. One of the great liberations is freedom from the fear of being judgmental. Judgment is quite natural. This isn't a message about becoming pure or holy or spiritual or higher or deeper. You really are just as you are. You're just not you. That's fine, Emerson. I'm probably better off responding to if anyone's got anything to ask.
Yes, so if anyone, our format for these talks is to bring a speaker, and then most talks basically have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can write it down, click on the Q&A button, type it in, and questions are coming in like magic. How's that happening, Tim?
Just magic. It's all magic,
It's all
Emerson.
magic. Yes.
No, but life is magic. There you go.
Yeah.
We don't know how anything happens.
Yeah.
You can tell, you know, clever people can tell you how it happens, but they don't really know.
To start with that, Anonymous asked, how did you become awakened?
Yeah, good question. I didn't. There isn't anyone who's awakened. You could call it more like the one who wanted to awaken goes to sleep and doesn't wake up. That's much closer to what we might call awakening. The one who wanted to awaken, the one who wanted enlightenment, Tim, went to sleep, and then even when he woke up, he was still asleep. Deep sleep awake, you could say. So the closest analogy to this notion of no self, which there isn't a no self, that's quite a misconception, I think. There's a lot of misconception about that you go from being a self to being a no self. Well, there's nothing to recognize no self. So there's nothing to recognize awakening. It's just so much space where self used to be, you could say. But that takes memory to do the comparison with how it used to be. There really isn't any difference. Perception's the same, feelings are the same, seeing is the same, hearing is the same, emotions are the same, thoughts are the same, beliefs are pretty much the same. They're just not mine anymore. They never were, but of course I claimed them, and in the claiming of them as mine, they became really important. And the reason this is a compassionate message is because freedom from them being mine is freedom from all the weight that my beliefs have, all the weight that my story has, all the weight that emotions, particularly. Emotions are just natural. And when they're not mine, they appear and they disappear.
Bingo. Thank you, Tim. This one is from Elsak. Tim, you talk of the depression that you experienced. Do you think this led to your change in perception?
No, nothing leads to. I don't consider this a change in perception. No, so I couldn't say that. In the story, there was great suffering, and there was longing to be free from that suffering. I mean, I think that's common amongst people who seekers who end up at this last chance saloon that we're calling non-duality. It's kind of the end of the road for a seeker. You've probably tried a lot of other shit in order to get here. If you're listening to this weekend, I'm guessing you've tried a lot of other stuff. And it can seem as though there's a giving up, but of course me couldn't do that, and me couldn't give itself up. It's not possible. I am is self-preservation. That's what the energy of self is, self-preservation. So although I can tell a story of I long to give myself up, I can't do that. And so how self stops appearing, I have no idea. And to say it's through depression or through suffering or through pain would be just another story. Which, Elsa, I could tell that story. You're not wrong in that. But if I told you that story, it would just be a story. It's very clear that there's no cause there's no more cause for what we're calling awakening or liberation than there is a cause for anything else. This is causeless. Life doesn't have a cause. Life doesn't have a creator. Life isn't created. That requires a before in order for this to exist. And there isn't even a this to exist. I talk about this because I haven't got a better word for it. But it's completely inadequate, and there isn't a this. So it's a stupid word along with all language. But yeah, there isn't a cause. And of course that's endlessly frustrating for the seeker who wants to know how the one speaking about this, the human being who's speaking about this, how they got here. How did they come to this? Well, you don't come to this, there's just this.
There you are. Sorry about that.
I worried I lost you there, Emerson. Where did you go?
I am not sure.
Okay.
The internet. I lost a lot of the questions here for some odd reason. There's one that came up. So if you have typed questions, please type them again because I lost them for some odd reason. This is from Travis. Was finding the truth a top priority there?
Yeah. Yeah. You're not ending up coming to non-duality meetings or listening to speakers who are speaking about this unless you've been a seeker of truth and you really want to know. Yeah, truth was. I don't think that's a prerequisite. There aren't any prerequisites for coming to this, but seeker of wanting to know what's real, what's really real, and yeah, truth and reality. I'm guessing everyone who's listening to this, that's, if they were honest, that's what they would say they're seeking. I will say that here it was peace as well. Peace was what I was looking for. And what I didn't know I was looking for, but encompasses all of those, was love. Love is what we're looking for. Love is the longing. Love's longing for love.
Brilliant. Thank you. Kathy in Ireland. Hi, Tim. Could you speak about no cause and effect in general, please?
Yeah, it's very straightforward, really. There is an appearance of cause and effect, and that's no different than whether there's a sense of self or not. There's an appearance of cause and effect. You can still talk about it in that way. The difference is very, very subtle. It's very obvious that there actually isn't something that happens before something else, which will then cause what's present. It's very simple. If time loses its reality, then cause and effect just becomes a story. A story you can still tell without any problem at all, but it becomes much lighter because it's not a reality. The problem with cause and effect and the suffering that comes from that, I cause that, guilt, you cause that, blame, that's really the essence of most suffering. Or I did this now, I'm doing this, that will cause that in the future, anxiety. I'm not doing this, that will cause that, anxiety. You did that, blame. All of those come from that time is an absolute reality. And it's not, it's completely relative. It's a relative reality which doesn't go anywhere if it's, you could say, seen through, or it just becomes obvious that they're just stories that we tell. We can, and of course, as long as the brain's functioning still, we can work with those stories, no problem. But what this is suggesting is that it's not really real. It's a relative realness, a relative reality, that if that becomes obvious, then life is so light. So it appears that she did that and that caused that, and I'm angry about it. Well, that will still be the case. It will appear that way. But if it's just an apparent cause and effect, that is just a story that we tell. Of course, because if we ask the person next to you, ask your neighbor what they saw and what the cause and effect was and how they feel about it, they've got another story. Cause and effect is a story.
Spot on. Thank you. David asked you, please tell your clay story.
Tell my what story? Sorry,
your clay story.
Clay.
Do you want to go back to that one?
What's my clay story? So it's a story he's heard me tell?
I think so.
Wait a minute. Oh yeah, I know. Oh, he's seen me say that. Yeah, he's heard me say that on YouTube. I've only ever said that once, I think. Oh, I'm gonna have to dredge. I've got to dredge that up from the memory banks. So one of the things that I thought might happen in liberation is that, and this is, you could say, after liberation, so now I'm liberated. Oh, I know, I'm so free that there'll be lots of creative energy. And at school, I did pottery as one of my, I did GCSE and A level in a British school. And I thought there'll be all this latent creativity that I've suppressed for 40 years, that's just lying dormant, waiting for, now that there's this freedom, I'll be able to fully express myself creatively. So I went and bought some clay, and I got the clay in my hands, and it felt great, and I loved the feeling of it. And I just played with it, and I rolled it into a ball, and I sat it on the side, and that was how creative I'd become in liberation. I could roll a ball of clay. There was nothing else. And I just sat and laughed, because I thought, and there wasn't anything coming, you know, there was nothing. So there wasn't okay, the analogy, what I think it showed was that, oh, you can have all kinds of fantasies about liberation or enlightenment and how it would be. And that was one of mine. And it turned out to be just a lovely fantasy. The reality is never quite the fantasy, is it? Life isn't. Life just shows you that all the time. You know, you can have beautiful dreams of what the future holds, but we have no idea. There really isn't a future that's waiting for you. There's just what's happening. Oh, that's the clay story. I think I told it better first time, probably, but that's kind of the story.
That's hilarious. Tim from No One, please help. I am stuck. I feel like I'm able to experience to be oneness, yet knowing this, it seems to indicate the presence of duality. I can't get past the feeling of witnessing oneness. I seem to be able to drop everything else. This present won't go. Any suggestions?
No. There isn't an experience of oneness, though. Well, and if there is an experience of oneness, that's just an experience of oneness that will appear and then disappear. This, don't get, I could be completely wrong on this, but there's no experience of oneness, like a continual experience of oneness. That's not what I'm speaking about. I don't think that's what this message is saying. it's experiences is not what is being spoken about. And that experience of oneness, I've had those supposedly I've got memories of them, where there was these sublime moments of bliss, of oneness. That's not what's being spoken about. This is emptiness. Now, emptiness can't be seen. You know, oneness is a beautiful, sublime, blissful experience. Well, there may be human beings who are living in a constant state of bliss. There may be. And that has nothing to do with what this message is. This is saying, this message is, life is exactly as it is. And that is all experience, all happenings, everything free to appear just as it appears. No exclusions, absolutely all inclusive. So again, like my clay analogy, you're not going to get what you're hoping for. This isn't what you're looking for. I know what you're looking for, I think. I don't know specifically, but generally, you're looking to get rid of all the bits of life about you, and particularly about yourself, that you don't like, and to live in what you really desire. That when more of those moments, and if possible, constant experience of those bliss, you know, those wonderful, awesome moments. Well, life's not like that, is it? It's just not. Life is free. That's why liberation is out of the three general words used for no self, then liberation is the better of the three, because there's no one to awaken, there's no one to be enlightened, and there is no one to be liberated, but freedom for all of those parts of you that you've said are wrong. They're the parts that are really liberated. All the dirty bits, all the hidden, all the shameful. It's liberation for them. It's liberation for everything. Everything is equally free. So, yeah. There can be really intense disappointment. For the end of your dreams. There is no one to fulfill them.
Thank you, Tim. You mean to say you're not levitating right now? You're not floating?
Yeah, if I move the screen, then you can see that.
This one is kind of like spot on. Tula wants, tell us more about the magic.
The magic. Well, the magic is that, yeah. Well, you don't need me. Who says it?
Tula.
Tula, you don't need anyone to tell you about the magic. This is the most ordinary magic. There is only this incredibly ordinary magic. How does this appear? I mean, what we do with our knowledge is make this amazing, extraordinary life mundane by our knowledge. Our knowledge says, as soon as you know, then the magic is lost. This message is all about not knowing, and in the not knowing, everything is magic. And the truth is, you don't really know. You delude yourself, and everyone else colludes with you, because they'll say what you know is correct. If you're in some mainstream, as long as you follow mainstream thinking that self has, then everyone will collude with you, and so you're pretty definite that you do know how this comes to be as it is, and you do know what life is, and you do know how it works. I mean, it's so, the audacity of it, the the arrogance that self has in its self-knowledge of what's happening is extraordinary. And that's what kills the magic. The magic is everything. It's not hidden. Seeming knowing, the illusion that you know, which is the nature of self. Self and knowing are the same illusion. Because when I say not knowing, sometimes I think that's misheard, that so I've lost all knowledge that Tim would have had. No, nothing. Knowledge isn't lost, but it's lost as real knowledge. It can still be recalled in exactly the same way. I don't know any less. I just don't believe that it's knowledge anymore. Just a story. There's a story that human beings know this stuff. We don't know. And then there is still knowledge, but it's not real. It's not absolutely real. It's just relative knowledge. So what? And there's the magic. Here it is. It's not there, it's here.
Brilliant. Thank you. Ben has a question. What questions and affirmations help you the most?
No. Question. The only. Oh God, did I ask some questions? All we're talking about, if liberation is. I am is the questioner. You could say, and that's the problem. I mean, it's not really a problem, but it creates all the problem. I am, then ask the questions. The questions become the problem. I need an answer to those, and those answers will bring me to where I want to get to. There is nowhere to get to. The questions are futile. Utterly useless. Don't get me wrong. If you've got a plumbing problem and you ask some questions to the plumber about what's the best solution, to practical problems. But for life, for this, questions they're not a problem, but there is no solution to be found in questions. None at all. And what was the other thing? Questions and?
Affirmations.
Oh, bless. I mean, yeah, self loves that shit. Life couldn't care less about your affirmations. Life doesn't even recognize that you exist. So, I had them all over my mirror. So I'm not, yeah, of course. When I felt desperate enough and I thought that maybe affirmations, seems a lot of people are doing that, it should help. But of course, I never believed it. Self doesn't believe that. If you've got a negative self-image, saying you're beautiful and free and loving every morning, the other part of self would just negate that straight away. That's how it was here anyway. I'm not saying don't do it. Again, for self, it could be useful. It wasn't here though. I will have to admit that it wasn't helpful here. Even for me, it didn't make me feel better. They didn't work. I was always just, so I'd say something positive and then immediately the thought of going, yeah, but you're lying. You don't believe that. And I didn't believe it, no. So I can't suggest any questions or affirmations.
Thank you, Tim. You're epic.
My ethics?
You're epic.
Oh, I thought you don't want to know my ethics.
It's
very sordid.
D'Angelo, and I'm going to try my horrible English accent here. How are you getting on with your cream teas?
Oh, that's lovely. That's somebody who came to my Zoom who I said I'm going on holiday next week to Devon, and if you know anything about England, Devon is most famous for cream teas. So I'm not there yet. I'm going tomorrow. Yeah, and
Next question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I did I did say that I was going to have at least 2 cream teas each day.
Russ asked, what happens when you tell people who've never heard about non-duality that you do talks about non-duality? How do they respond?
Yeah, yeah, good question. Um, well, generally, this is tricky with old friends, particularly friends who have just known me as a normal person for many years, and then you say what you're doing now. Um, I do say so. I speak and I write about non-duality, and they go, "Oh, what's that?" And I just say that there's no self, and there's no. I say there's no self and there's no time, and that usually stops the conversation dead, which is a good thing, really, because if it goes any further, then they might get angry with me. But if I usually say there's no self and there's no time, which is sort of the core of the message, then they don't want to ask any more questions after that. This is, I don't want to get too biblical about it, but Jesus always said for something along the lines of, he said, allegedly, apparently, for those who have ears, let them hear. This is only for those who have ears. For those who don't have ears, they will not hear. So it's okay to say it because it just goes straight through, doesn't touch the sides, self-dismisses it as bunkum, and it doesn't. So most people don't even respond.
Thank you. Anonymous question here. Law of attraction is huge, in capital letters, in spirituality. Is it true? In the dream? In the dream, there is apparent cause and effect, correct?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Looks like it. But we just tell stories of it. There isn't. We tell a story of that. And then, of course, we feel of self. Self is really wedded to cause and effect, because cause and effect has to be real in order for me to feel secure. And security is self's main objective, to feel in control. And I need knowledge. And of course, the greater my knowledge and understanding of cause and effect, the more secure I feel.
Thank you. Harvey has a question. What can one do to at least facilitate the possibility of living this experience?
Who is that?
That's Harvey Jackson.
Harvey, yeah. It's being lived. You're not living it. This is it. There's nothing else. There's no possibility of getting more of it. You can't get closer or further away. There aren't any human beings who are not fully living being human. It's not possible, is it? Obviously. They're being human. And that's all we're talking about. But of course I say I could have more of it or less of it. There could be more being. I could be being more this or more that, less this or more that. And that's the illusion. There isn't more or less.
Thank you. I have a long question here, anonymous question. In this message, it is often said that anything can happen, but in the dream, that's not what apparently happens. There is strong consistency. Humans don't start flying, cats don't start thinking, chairs don't dance, even more subtle things. If you eat lots of junk food every day, you won't be a fitness model. You
Yeah.
see.
Oh, you've stopped, Emerson. I've lost you. Yeah, the appearance of consistency of the room's the same when I woke up in the morning as when I went to sleep. That's quite powerful. But really, it's not the same. It's always new. It's always fresh. It's never the same. The sameness is an illusion. The illusion of consistency, of continuity, I should say. So that's what, because I am needs the illusion of continuity to really exist, to continue. So I was here yesterday, I'm here now, and I'll be here tomorrow. Then that illusion of continuity is essential for me to feel safe and to feel that I'm me and that I exist. I filled in your absence, Emerson.
Thank you so much. Good job.
You're welcome. I sort of guessed the crux of the question. This notion of continuity is the essence of self as well, and that still is apparent, but it's not real as it was. That my continuity that I was living yesterday. I was thinking particularly about waking up. You know, the fact is, the obviousness that self disappears utterly every night in deep sleep is completely missed by self. On waking, self says, here I am again, and I'm continuing from where I went to sleep. Completely dismissing the fact that it's been totally absent for however long, and then it's reappeared. So it's like born anew every morning. But me, I couldn't handle that, and that's how life is. I mean, this is always new, always fresh, always appearing completely from nowhere, disappearing to nowhere. In fact, it is nowhere. You know, it's from nothing. It's being nothing. Nothing being everything, and then disappearing to nothing again.
Awesome. Thank you. This is from Julie. I love your candid approach to speaking about this, and it seems that I'm not alone. I've heard you say that you never noticed a change that happened or a shift. Is that because there is no one to notice?
Yeah, you could say that, but I don't even know that. You know, I don't even know that it's because there's no one to notice. There's just no noticing. The noticer, the observer, the witness, that I am says who I am, that I notice what's going on. If that stops appearing, who's to notice? There isn't a noticer. You know, there isn't. That's all we're talking about. That illusory separation. And I mean, it's subtle. It's really, it's imaginary. It's more than subtle. But so there really isn't anything to notice. The only thing that's noticeable is the seeming symptoms, the absence of the symptoms that I used to create. Particularly thinking, you know, thinking about myself, everything in relation to how it will affect me. What does this mean for me? All the self-conscious thoughts relating, particularly with people. I mean, but even alone, self-consciousness even is there alone. So in the absence of Tim, there was no one to notice the absence. Is the best I can do, but even that's not true, because that suggests that there was an absence, and there isn't an absence. Because the one that would be absent was already just an illusion. So nothing was lost. In the seeming losing of everything that was mine, nothing was lost. Nothing at all.
Thank you. No one asked. My reason why I think that I'm pursuing this is that I have a question I can't answer, which of is, how do I know if the help I give is actually helping? I feel that without the self, there would be just helping free of ego, and this would be the best way to be. I would like to hear your thoughts.
I think you need to tell me that. Ask me that
Sure.
again.
Yeah, my reason why I think that I'm pursuing this is from no one, is that I have a question I can't answer, which of is, how do I know if the help I give is actually helping? I feel that without the self, there would be just be helping free of ego, and this would be the best way to be. I just would like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's just a fantasy of how it would be without you and your ego. Um, of course, the truth is you never know if actions are helping. Even with the best intentions, your helping can be badly received, and the seeming consequences can be negative rather than the positive ones. Truth is you never know. There is no knowing any future because there isn't one. And that's the reality, and that's hard to, for me, that's, well, that's no answer. That's not good enough for me, because I need to know that all my efforts to help will be helping. Well, there's no knowing that. No, there's no knowing that at all. And as for you'll be more helpful without yourself, there's no knowing that either. You might think it might well be without yourself, you become very self-centered. You become very, well, apparently to others, more selfish, because you've been, you thought it was to be a good person, you needed to be altruistic and generous and kind and selfless. And actually, the natural way the human being there is would be hedonistic. Who's to say? There's no knowing any of that. And again, just stories. None of that is relevant. If there's helping or a desire to help, then there'll be helping, whether it's helpful or not.
Thank you so much. I have a question, another anonymous question. I seem to be, when I come back on, I lose all the questions. If you want to send the questions again, sorry about these technical difficulties. Zoom does happen. So this question is resending question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. How does the falling away of me affect relationships with others in your life?
Yeah, it does seem to have I mean, there's no rules, that's for sure. But if me was dominating how the human being behaves and acts towards others, and so there's a radical change in how you behave, then of course that will seemingly have a dramatic effect on relationships. But there's no rules. Maybe it won't. And again, all of those are just stories, and so none of that has the weight. That's all for me, so I'm afraid that if I fell away, then I would lose all my relationships. Well, maybe is an answer to anything about the future, because I mean, it sounds pathetically wise, a bit Lao Tzu, isn't it? Maybe it's a bit wise Chinese, but it's probably the best answer. Maybe. I can't hear you, Emerson. What's going on there?
Oh, I'm back. Are there any non-modern speakers? This is for anonymous question. Are there any non-modern speakers or writers that you feel express the same message as you, Tony, etc.? So much out there is convoluted. Thanks.
Um, it's not quite that. The problem with there's just there's a language barrier, I think, in that it's a cultural. There's a cultural difference that makes it sound different. I think this message has always been here. Who knows how long? There aren't any ancient teachings that resonate. Maybe the one that for me is the Gospel of Thomas. So these are the words that the real Jesus spoke. So if you haven't had a look at those, I'm suggesting you might have a look at them. Because I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying. But again, there is the culture and the language difference, which makes it may sound as though he's talking about something else. And of course, he was speaking in a spiritual context. But yeah, they're the ones that spoke directly. You could say spoke directly to me of all the ancient ones.
Thank you. This one is from Matt K. Matt says that I've always been confused by the concept of free will. Is there no free will because there's no person? So the Ramana Maharshi quote answers the concept of free will. Whatever is destined not to happen will not happen. Try as you may, whatever is desired to happen will happen. Do what you may want to prevent it. This is certain. The best course, therefore, is to remain silent.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any sense of destiny or predestiny, so I would disagree with that because destiny and predestiny is the notion that life is in the can. So this is a movie, and the movie's already all been shot, and well, where's the freedom in that? That doesn't sound like freedom, and this feels like freedom. This feels utterly free, and freedom is that this appears in absolute wild, chaotic anarchy, even if it's calm and seems to be consistent, it is actually wild and free. That's how it feels. So no, I don't have any sense of predestined. That this is a message about you will do what, no matter what you do, the outcome will be what the outcome will be. There aren't any outcomes. That's the message.
Awesome.
The outcome only appears in memory, because I have to remember what happened in order to think this is an outcome. And there isn't a past, and there isn't a future. There is only this. This, you could say, this is all of time. All times appear here at all times. There is only this. So this is the whole of the past. Everything is present.
Thank you for that answer. Art has a question.
I'd include the future in that.
Oh, sorry.
I'll include the future in that as well as the past. In this.
Thank you. Art has a question. How is your message different from other non-dual speakers like Tony Parsons?
I don't know. You'd have to listen to me and then listen to Tony and then come to your own conclusion about that. I would say it's just the same, slightly different words. Different characters will speak about this in different ways. Different ways. It will come across as a slightly different flavor. I think we're all eating cake, but there's different flavors of cake.
Here's another question about free will, from Anonymous. What are your thoughts about free will? For instance, did I have a choice to send this question or not?
You could say, just like everything else, free will's an appearance. That's it for me. I don't even I think free will is talked about far too much. I just think it's a without self, it becomes it's a redundant concept, because of course free will only refers to the one who would have it. If there's no one to have free will, if it appears that there's choosing, then that's just what it appears to be happening. That's it. So it looks like, it seems like there was a choosing of doing that rather than that. And that has no weight. But of course, when I have the notion that I'm the chooser and I could have chosen otherwise, there's all the, well, you could say there's all suffering. Not all suffering. There's a lot of suffering in I am the chooser and I could have done otherwise. Because how many hours, how many nights have you lain awake in bed going over what you chose to do and how you could have chosen otherwise, and you wish you had, and you long to go back and change your choosing? Well, there's choosing, it's not your choosing. It's not complicated. Looks like choosing. No chooser.
Ready for the next one, Tim?
Yeah.
This one is an anonymous question. It seems that females who have woken up to this exact message seem slightly disenchanted and disappointed, while males seem nothing but relieved. Do you find this to be true? And if so, why?
Sorry, what was the difference that they've seen?
The females who have woken up to this exact message seem slightly disenchanted and disappointed, while males seem nothing but relieved. Do you find this to be true? And if so, why?
No, you've already heard that there was really a lot of disappointment in it. Yeah. Of course, how would they not be disappointed? It's the end of all dreams and hopes. There's got to be an element. I would say more than disappointment, actually. There's intense sorrow. You may sob for days or weeks or months. Because it's the end of your dreams, you know. Look at me with my dream of being a great sculptor that I said earlier. Don't get me wrong, you will laugh about them, but there'll be sadness. There's loss of dreams. But of course, dreams and hopes, I mean, they're a curse as well. So it's this isn't straightforward in that of how it will feel, all feelings. But yeah, there is sadness and loss. Oh, and I'll say one other thing. There's also the inevitable obviousness that this is utterly alone. So the possibility of knowing another, which of course self has always dreamt of completion by being in union with another, which to self means fully knowing someone, being known by them, and that you knowing them, that becomes an impossibility. There are no others. There's no self, there's no others. So the aloneness of this can be you could say a sublime sadness or melancholy. There's no escaping the aloneness of nothing. There's nothing alone. Things are only apparently real. So there's apparent things, and that's including other human beings. But this is utterly alone.
Thank you, Tim. You're so enlightened that you actually answered the next question.
Oh.
Can the empty space that you find make you feel a lot lost and alone, because it's something that you Yeah, see, there you go.
Now the thing is, so yeah, I've answered that, and yet, so this aloneness is, this is what you've longed for, but it's not what me's longed for, because this is all there is. So it's very hard to convey. So it's love and melancholy in equal measure.
Thank you. That's beautifully put. Another anonymous question. No, actually, this one is from Alyssa K. If the nothingness is also love, why is it not blissful? Is our concept of love wrong? Why is it not blissful? Is our concept of our love wrong?
Well, I'm not sure what bliss exactly means, but I'm guessing it's sublime happiness. I think that's what people are talking about. And this message has nothing to do with happiness. It's saying that sadness and happiness are just free to appear as they appear. And it's the end of one being right and one being wrong, because what we've made as selves, and we've had it reinforced throughout our lives through conditioning, is that there's something wrong if there's sadness, that sadness is negative and happiness is positive. This isn't about happiness.
We have 3 minutes left, Tim. A couple more questions.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think about reincarnation or past lives or parallel lives? It doesn't seem to fit with this message.
No, it doesn't. This has nothing to say about any of it. Other than, you know, you can dream of anything you want. Dreams will just appear, and so there could be a dream of reincarnation. There could be a dream of past lives. There could be a dream of, because they're just thoughts, aren't they? And of course, self will like those. And I'm not saying there isn't anything wrong with them, but they are all for me, because it's suggesting that there's something to come and there's been something before. And when that's seen as, okay, they're just stories of a past and they're stories about a possible future, then the funny thing is, in the past, as Tim, I would have totally poo-pooed them and said they're rubbish and stupid, and now they're just lovely stories. And I could listen to them much easier now than I could when I judged them as wrong. This doesn't make anything wrong.
Barb asks, is this lonely?
No, it's completely alone, and it's the end of the possibility of loneliness. Loneliness is for me.
We'll squeeze in another one here. Another free will question here. You seem to be saying both things, that there is free will and at the same time that there is not. It is clear to you, but for everyone else, it probably still is not. Asked differently, for instance, could you become a sculptor in any unfolding of this? Or is free will something like one can choose to get a cheese or ham sandwich, but for instance, being a sculptor or not, the bigger choices are not actually free?
I thought I made that clear, but I'll say it again. So there is the appearance of apparent choice, and there's no chooser.
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there we go.
All right. Well, thank you.
Me never wants to hear that.
I wish we had more time. There's tons and questions here. Again, you know what? Let's do this again, Tim. Let's do another conference.
Well, it's always great to talk to you, Emerson. And,
yeah, likewise.
Well done for putting all this together. I think it's amazing.
It's difficult, I think, but it's pretty awesome.
I'm in awe.
Live.
Yeah,
we have a great team. Great team.
And that you put it together. It's great. Yeah. So good luck with the rest of the day.
We have a great team. Thank you, Tim.